So there it is right there. There's a launch. So I'm just going to go behind this terrain right here. Go behind this terrain and set up for a clean defending. So there it's gone. I'm going to jettison everything. Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is lesson number 2 in the SAM reaction fundamentals, talking about the SA4, SA6, and SA11s. So this is the vault again. I'll have this in the description as well. It's a very good guide and Bible for all of the guide to all the weapons in Falcon BMS, also with the threats, surface-to-air threats, and aircraft and air-to-air weapons that other fractions might have. So we'll move on down here to the SA4, which we'll be talking about. So here's the SA4, what it looks like. It doesn't have many missiles. As the search radar, it's a long track, so you'll see a L on your RWR about 86 miles out. As you will see in the practical, in the 3D and Falcon BMS, you'll see that the low blow does lock you out a ways, so it could search for you. That's how you can know that there's probably going to be a SA4 in the area. Attack radar or fire control radar is the pat hand. So it is EOTS, has the ability of EOTS, but usually uses the pat hand, and you'll see a 4 on your RWR. Minimum range of the missiles is 4 nautical miles. 500-foot launch, 50-foot track, so it can launch at 500 feet. It can only track at 50 feet. Typical engagement is 18 nautical miles, 80,000 feet, so you will not be going above this SAM site. Maximum range of the missiles is 22 nautical miles, 80,000 feet. And some notes here: 1967, brake 4G turn, beam, split S, and turn away. So in mine, it's best to just outmaneuver the missile because it's not very maneuverable. It can only pull 6 Gs, so that's not even close to what the F-16 can pull. So it has a weak turning radius or turning rate. So make sure you defeat it with maneuvers for the most part. But all of these SAMs, make sure you just don't get launched out in the first place. So the type is mobile SAM. It's able to move. ECM burn through range is 14 nautical miles. So you have about 4 nautical miles of play when it comes to the typical engagement and your ECM burn through range. And you are able to, if you're outside of these 14 nautical miles and you get launched, you can actually flicker and turn on or turn off your flicker back and forth cycle your ECM, and it'll lose lock. So the chaff maneuverability is medium. I would say about 2 or 3 chaff should do the trick. For the most part, if you're far enough away. When you're close, it's mostly maneuvers. The pursuit is lead pursuit. Maximum velocity is 2.4 Mach, so it goes pretty quick. You won't be running away from that anytime soon. So the radar lock range is, the search radar is 86 nautical miles. As I said, you would see this L, the long track, about up to 86 miles away. Fire control is 48 nautical miles, and sometimes the SA4, it'll pop up at like 40 miles and then 30 miles. It'll just look at you for a little bit and then turn off. So it'll kind of give away its position or direction from you. That's how you'll know that it's an SA4. So I'm going to move on to the SA6. Here it is right here. So I would say that this is the lowest number, but I would say it's the most dangerous lowest number when it comes to SAM sites. So the SA6 has a F. It's what's it called? A flat face is the search radar is a flat face. The straight flush is the fire control. So you'll see a F at the beginning. A couple or outside of the range of it, you'll definitely see an F. It'll be looking for you, so you'll be able to know in what direction that F is coming from. So you won't go in that direction. Be aware that F is also the search radar for the SA3. So it could either be an SA6, which is deadly, like severely and highly deadly, or it could be SA3, which is not as bad, but still you don't get shot by it. So if you see an F, could be either a 3 or a 6. The only way to know if it's differentiate which one of the two is if you get visual of the target, or if obviously the fire control radar comes up. And by then it's probably too late. So after the flat face comes on, you'll see a 6. The SA6 is notoriously a SAM bush type SAM. So once you get close enough, it'll only pop up, turn on for a little bit, turn off, watch you, follow you, turn on for a little bit, turn off. And if you get close enough, it'll turn on, and the moment it turns on, it's launching at you. So you're either right above it, like close to above it, obviously within 10 nautical miles. That's not really far at all for any type of reaction times. Goes Mach 3.2, so it's pretty quick. So the minimum range in the missile, minimum range is 2 nautical miles, 500-foot launch, 80-foot track. Typical engagements, as I was talking about, is 10 nautical miles, 101,000 feet. You're not getting over this missile either. The maximum range for the missile is 20 nautical miles and 101,000 feet as well, so you're not getting over this missile, but you can get away from it, but it goes pretty quick. So you need to either, number 1, don't get shot by it. Number 2, use the terrain masking to have the missile flow into the ground, or that's about it. Just try not to get shot by it. So the notes, 1970. Some of the ways to get away from it is beam, chaff. It's medium, so it might do something. You might as well just do chaff. Beam, split S, turn away, brake turn, 7 to 8 Gs, chaff, flat face. So with this, I would recommend jettisoning if you have any bombs. I would recommend jettisoning them. It is possible to get away from it with your bombs, but after about 1 or 2 maneuvers, you'll lose your speed and won't be able to defeat it anymore. So you might want to jettison your bombs when it comes to trying to defend a SA6. So moving over here, it is a mobile SAM. It does have the ability to move. ECM burn through range is 4 nautical miles, but keep in mind that it does have home on jamming. So if you have your jammer on and you're within these parameters, 4 nautical miles, it'll definitely home on jam. It could launch at you at 10 nautical miles and is home on to your jammer. So if you're trying to defend a SA6, make sure you turn off your jammer. Chaff vulnerability is medium, so 2 or 3 chaff should do the trick, or should be effective if it is going to be effective. You don't need 6 or 7, 9 chaff all at once, but I would recommend doing some chaff. Maximum velocity is 3.2 Mach, which is pretty quick. Won't really be getting away from that since it launches as you within 10 miles. The search radar is the flat face. So search radar is a flat face. It could turn on and track you up to 108 nautical miles. The fire control radar is 30 nautical miles. That is the SA6 that'll pop up on your RWR. Moving on to the SA11, which is the predecessor of the SA17. The SA11 is not a joke at all. Just try not to get hit or launched by this SAM right here. So we're going to talk about what you would see on the RWR. You'll see a D at first, about 85 nautical miles or so. That is the snowdrift. That's the search radar, the snowdrift. So you'll see that at first. And then once the fire control radar comes on, you'll see 11. And depending on what RWR you're using, you'll see a D with little like radar dish. Then you'll see a 42 for the SA11, depending on what RWR model you have. So the tracking is a fire dome. That is the fire control radar. Uses the H and I band of frequencies. Minimum missile range is 1.5 nautical miles. 108-foot launch, 100-foot track. Typical engagement is about 12 nautical miles, 90,000 feet. So this is another one of the mini SAM sites you won't be getting above anytime soon. Maximum range of the missile is 20 nautical miles, 90,000 feet. 1979 came up, introduced in 1979. 2 missiles per target. So once it launches at you, it'll launch 2 missiles. So yeah, good luck. And once it launches at you, it'll have smoke for about maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and then the smoke will disappear. It's about halfway to you, so you won't be able to see it anymore. So the best thing to do is to pump and weave at least 3 times. If you're at 15 nautical miles, it's best to pump up. I've never not had a launch warning, so I would think that it launches at basically every time, but it does have the ability to launch using EOTS, electro-optical tracking system. So be careful of that. Moving on over here, it does have home on jam, so if you're trying to defend it, make sure you turn off your jammer. Burning range is 19 nautical miles. Chaff vulnerability is very low. No reason to use it. Most part. Pursuit is lead. Maximum velocity is 2.6. Radar lock range is the 85 nautical miles for the snowdrift, is the search radar, and then fire control is 30 nautical miles, which is the fire dome. It could launch up to 6 targets. Azimuth's 120, elevation 90 degrees, so it goes into that. So just try not to get launched on by an SA-11 because they're super dangerous. And then I'll meet you all in 3D, so see you in the jet. Alright, here I am, SA4, about to enter the SA4 threat ring here. See the low blow on the RWR, that's the search radar. Or not the low blow, the, yes. So here we are about to enter the threat circle of the SA4. And as you see the L on the RWR, that's a long track. That's the search radar of the SA4. So there's the 4 right there. There's the tracking radar. And you can hear there's a launch right there.
Chaff, flare.
So I did one chaff and turned on the ECM and it lost track. So just like that is how to get away from long track or SA4 at altitude 24,000 feet. So I still have the ECM on. I'm actually going to turn it off now. And there it goes, it launches. So I'll wait a little bit and turn back on the ECM and it goes off. So if you're like 16 miles or so, it should lose launch. See, now I have ECM on and it's still launching onto me at 15 miles. So I'm going to turn it off and it's still launch. So this SAM site cannot pull more than 6 Gs. So I'll try to exploit that. I do have bombs on for weight. Make sure I have the correct load when it comes to getting into contact with SAMs. I do have 2 GBUs at 25,000 feet. Usually you could just do a quick turn and it should lose. You do some flare or some chaff and it should lose you. I'm going to come back around, trespass the SA4. This time I am going to give it some time to approach and see what are the best tactics to do when it's closer to you. And the missile actually made it closer to you. The SA4 is definitely mud SA4 on the RWR. It's locking onto me now. As you can hear, that's the salt shaker noise. That's indicative of an SA4. Once you get better at BMS, you'll be able to identify SAM threats just off of their sound. But if you're looking over here, you're like doing stuff and you're just like, oh, I hear it. You know what it is already without having to look forward. I'm going to put it on my left side here. See if it'll launch at me. Oh, I got my ECM on, so it's not launching on me yet. I'm going to turn it off. And automatically right there, first get a visual of it. I see it right here. See the SAM site right there. See that? It's coming in. And I'm going to brake.
Chaff, flare. Chaff, flare.
And defeated. That's one. Another one. We'll defeat this one as well. So it's very small movements. It doesn't take very much for an SA4. The closer you get, the harder it's going to be. But the faster the missile is going to be. So I would recommend once you get launched, go away from the missile. But in this, I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you're in a predicament and you need to get away from it.
Chaff, flare.
Going again. Lost track. Another launch.
Chaff, flare. Chaff, flare.
So ECM doesn't work. I'm at 11 miles or so. Alright, I'm going to go off to the left here. Missed again. But no chaff. So you can almost just about avoid it with maneuvers. So here it comes, coming at me. Go down this time.
Chaff, flare. Altitude.
It can't even reach. I'm gonna reset, going down low. Show what it looks like at 15,000 or so. Make sure it doesn't latch onto me. Feet are at 15,000 feet now for a more medium altitude. Got a speed of 0.62 Mach, 320 knots on indicated, and we'll see what we do on here. Basically the same thing as if you're high altitude, since you have enough room enough space between you and the ground for maneuvers. We're just gonna get this SAM site to come on here soon. So there we are, entering the weapon employment zone. The threat circle is at low blow. The search radar searching around for me. Not low blow. The long track is actually the long track for the SA4. The low blow is the SA3. So don't get it confused. And I'm gonna turn into it. Seems like the long track's tracking me, but not switching over to the fire radar, fire control.
Chaff, flare.
There's the SA4. First get visual of it. It's right there. I have plenty of time. I'm like 11 miles away. So I got plenty of time. You could just jink it and it should be able to
flare.
lose you. Look over here.
Chaff, flare. Chaff, flare.
Alright, didn't lose me, I guess. So now, kick it in the burner, go toward it again. Just kind of defeat its turn rate. We are still at medium altitude. There's another launch. Try to beam it, see if I can beam this thing. Put it on my 3 o'clock there.
Chaff, flare.
Chaff and flare. Or just chaff, I always say it because the jet says it. Right, nothing happened. Look at the missile again.
Chaff,
Do another
flare.
chaff. Still not working. Alright. Going down. Defeat it
Chaff,
with the
flare.
amount of turns. It can't turn well.
Altitude. Altitude.
Thus defeated. Alright, there's another launch. If I can get away from it this time.
Chaff, flare.
That's the dead zone of the F-16 underneath. But you always don't want to turn your back away from it. It actually lost me, so that's good. I can turn back in and have it shoot at me again and try to blow away from it. You always got to watch out for the dead zones of the RWR, which is above you, like directly above you and directly below you. Those are two dead zones to get it to launch again. At a low altitude, medium low altitude, 5,000 feet. There's a launch. Let's see if I can flow away from it. If I can get to the dead zone. No chaff. I can get away from it just by maneuvering. I'm in full burn, trying to get away from it, maneuvering. Seems like it's catching up. Yep, starting to catch up. I'm gonna go up.
Flare.
Just from the maneuver. There's another launch. See it right there. Going across the HUD. You gain some speed, try to get away from it.
Altitude.
It doesn't seem like you're gonna outrun this thing for the most part. You need to kind of maneuver
Chaff. Flare.
a little bit more than what you would say. I wouldn't want to do this because you can't see it anymore. If you're good enough, you could probably do that. Always keep a visual on it.
Chaff.
Now it's like following me like in the movies. That was pretty close. At least I'm flowing away from it. So if you're low, if you can, just go down to the deck. And if you're able to, because it might be SAM sites, I would recommend going to burn and flowing outwards, but still trying to defeat it by maneuvers. If you're far enough, you'll be able to defeat it by your ECM. Alright, here we are with the SA6. It's pretty dangerous. It's probably the lowest, the most dangerous, lowest number SAM. The biggest difference about them is that it has home-on jamming. So if you have a jammer and you're trying to defend it, you might want to turn it off. So remember to turn it off when you're defending an SA6. So in this case, we're all at the high altitude one, 25,000 feet, jammer off with GBUs for weight, a realistic weight when you're coming in for a attack run or something. So here's an SA6 here, about to enter the threat circle here. So there I go, and trespassing SA6. So I'm going to turn this way so I could see it. Actually, it's over here. I'm going to turn it over here. There it is on the inner ring. And there we go, have a launch. So the biggest thing is a pop-off chaff. Well, first look for it. So I see it, it's right there.
Chaff. Flare.
And just to or kind of go into a S motion back and forth going down.
Chaff. Flare.
There's the feet right there. Full afterburner. Well, for the most part.
Flare. Chaff.
I'm not going to probably hit this one. Oh,
Altitude.
yeah, it hit me on that one.
Altitude.
So I'll probably come back around and do it again. But when you get hit by or launched by an SA6, I would jettison your stores and go to Cat 1 because that'll save you some maneuverability. Alright, so coming in 15,000 feet, about the typical speed. I think the sight's over here somewhere. It moved a little bit. Yeah, it's like over here. Something. Alright, there's the 6. So right when you see the 6, you might want to like turn away. Right now it's searching me out. So it's searching for me. It's on the outer ring, as you can see. It's going back and forth between the outer and the inner ring. So I'm going to keep it on my left side. Alright, there's a launch. I see it right there. I'm going to go to full afterburner. Going to go away from it, see if this works. Actually, never even tracked, so that's good.
Altitude.
So that time it never even tracked, so I'm going away from it now. See if I can reset again. There's a launch. I can see it. Full afterburner.
Chaff, flare.
Bank to the away from it. Do some chaff. See if I can get away from this thing
Chaff, flare.
by flying away from it.
Chaff, flare.
Alright, there it lost it. Chaffs do I have? 40. Do a couple more with this SA6. I'm going to do a low one this time. There's a launch.
Chaff,
The same
flare.
thing. Closer to the ground, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Chaff, flare. Chaff, flare.
Alright, see that's going to hit me. Yeah, it hit me on that one. So if you're coming in low, I would recommend jettisoning your bombs. Try it again, see if I can get away from it this time. Because you can't do the S maneuver downwards, split S. Going downwards because you're close to the ground. There's another launch. I'm going to go afterburner again. If I can get down to the deck. Basically full deflection. I'm still in Cat 3.
Flare. Chaff, flare. Chaff,
And it
flare.
hit. Alright, let's do it one more time so if I can get away from it. Down low. Maybe I had more speed. Able to get away from it then. Got terrain here, so I'm going to use the terrain this time. I got some speed here. There's a launch.
Chaff, flare.
Chaff and flare. Going off. Going away
Chaff,
from it.
flare.
Getting some more speed. Alright, let me see if I can pull up on it.
Chaff, flare.
Alright, missed it that time. But it's still coming after me. Pull up on it.
Flare.
Nope, he got me on that one. So yeah, coming in low is a difficult position to be in, getting launched by a SA6. Alright, so here is SA11, has home on jamming, so make sure you don't have your jammer on when you're defending it. This is the predecessor of the SA17, so it's pretty dangerous. Here we are at 25,000. If I can get a launch on it. There's a launch, there it is right there, you visually see it. Full afterburner.
Chaff, flare.
Chaff actually does nothing. It's very, very unlikely it's going to do anything. But it might as well it's not even doing anything. I'm going to follow it, and the smoke disappears actually pretty quickly. So there's the smoke, it's gone. Right now I'm just basically going to see if I can serpentine back and forth, see if I can dodge it. Basically like a AMRAM. See if it'll even work. And definitely jettison your bombs when you're doing this.
Altitude.
And it hit me still.
Altitude.
So I'm gonna go back up and reset. There's in the threat circle, and there's the SA11. There's a launch right there, so I'm going to see if I can dive down to the deck and just use terrain masking. I'm pretty high though, so I don't know if I'll be able to make it. And it hit me. So I'm lower now, so I'm going to see if I can do terrain masking since I'm 12,000 feet.
Altitude. Altitude.
Did it run into the ground? No, it's still getting me. So I lost it because of the terrain masking. So that's
Bingo.
about it.
Bingo.
So there it is right there. There's a launch. So I'm just going to go behind this terrain right here. Go behind this terrain and set up for a clean defending. So there it's gone. I'm going to jettison everything. So jettisoned, I am clean. Going to Cat 1, see if I can defend it here. If I can defend it down low. There's a launch, full burn. Going to turn into it. Nope, still hit me that one. Alright, still low. It's pretty fast. If I can go
Bingo.
around it.
Bingo.
Nope, still hit me. So yeah, this SA11 is no joke. Basically, don't get hit by it. If you have terrain, hide behind it. If you're at altitude, the best you can do is the flow away from it, doing a serpentine back and forth like a AIM 120. But other than that, that's about it. Oof.
Chaff. Flare.
Yeah, it hit me still. See if we're really close.
Chaff. Flare.
Nope, still hit me. So yeah, that's it for these two. I'll be making more. So yeah, the SA11, it's no joke. Alright, here we are, 15 miles away from the center of the SA11. I have 2 bags and 4 AMRAMs in Cat 3. So we'll see if we can dodge this. I'll have jammer on in this case. Go to Cat 1, see if I can go to that yet at 10,000 pounds. Nope, not quite yet. This is Cat 1. This is SA11. Put it on my...
Chaff. Flare.
Alright, there's a launch already, 11 miles away. I get a visual of it. There it is right there. So I'm going to go straight down to the ground.
Chaff. Flare.
Treat it somewhat like the SA6. Going to go away from it, and as you can see, the
Chaff. Flare.
smoke goes away. So you can't even see it about halfway to you.
Chaff. Flare.
There it is right there, and boom. That was that engagement. That was a jammer on. This does have home on jamming according to the vault. So I'll try that again with jammer off and see how does that fare with the SA11. So here I am 17 miles away. It actually started locking me up at about 19 or so. I'll see if I can turn my jammer on, see if it loses lock. It does not lose lock. If I turn toward it, put the beam of the jammer right on top of it, it'll lose lock then. Cycle it. Nope, still nothing. Locked onto me pretty good. Alright, gonna try jammer off. Put it on my left side so I could visually see where the missile's coming from. And remember, the smoke disappears after a few seconds. That's tracking now. There's a launch. So I see it.
Chaff.
My
Flare.
chaff. I'm going to maneuver heavily, get some speed. No reason to really look at it because it disappears.
Chaff. Flare. Altitude. Altitude.
I'm just going to pull back and forth, see if it'll miss me. Still hit me. Alright, pulled 8 Gs on that one. I'll try and go to medium altitude and see how does that fare with it. There's the SA11. Jammer off. Go to Cat 1. See if that does anything at 15,000 feet.
Caution. Caution.
8.2. Can actually jettison. Oh no, I'm not. Get a visual. There it is right there.
Chaff. Flare.
Going to do some maneuvers.
Altitude. Altitude.
Really cranking it.
Chaff. Flare.
And it hit me still. 9.4 Gs. So I'm gonna try it one more. I'm gonna try it again and just have. I'm gonna use the terrain masking for the SA11. All right, here I am. Relatively close to 15,000 feet. I'm gonna see if I can terrain mask in this amount of time, depending on the terrain and whatnot. So entering the threat circle now. And there's the 11 right there. There's the launch. Full burn. And straight down.
Chaff. Flare. Altitude. Altitude. Chaff.
Another
flare.
launch. If I can get
Pull
down to the
up,
deck in time.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
I hit the ground.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
At 15,000 feet, you could use the terrain as your go-to because it'll slam it into the ground. I'm gonna do one more with below like 4,000. I'll do like 4,000 feet or so to see if you could dodge it using the same method. Alright, 2,100 feet. Waiting for this to launch. Alright, it's tracking, and there's a launch right here to gain some more speed. I'll lift up, so it'll follow me. And then I'll go back down to see if it'll go to the ground. Can't see it anymore. There's the missile right here. Ooh, and it got me. Alright, doesn't seem like it wants to hit the ground, so full deflection. Still got me. Alright, flowing away.
Chaff. Flare.
Turning into it. Still got me. And it just keeps launching at you. That one went to the ground. Let's see if I can get away from it by going down.
Pull up.
Get below it.
Pull up. Pull up.
That seemed to have worked. Stayed down here. Should be okay. There's a hill in front of me, so I'm going to use that.
Chaff. Flare.
A little bit of time. Make sure I stay well within this hill. Unless it hits me. Goodness.
Chaff. Flare. Chaff. Flare. Pull up. Pull up.
Yeah, barely missed it. Yeah, look at that. Hit the mountain right next to me. So you can conclude that the SA11 is very dangerous to conclude this 3D session in the cockpit in BMS. Alright, here we are in Tacview. We'll quickly go over the numbers and some of the tactics that I used in 3D. First off, we're going to deal with the SA4. So here I am 24 miles away. This was when that first pass where I turned on my jammer and it lost track basically immediately. So here I should be getting launched at soon. So here's the launch. So it launched at me, and then immediately I turned on my jammer and it lost track. So that's how I got away from that one. The second one, you see it's right here. Notice the speed of the missile as it comes up. The second one actually missed as well. But this third one would actually started tracking. But once this third one comes in, just notice the speed on here. So it's 192 or 0.92, 1.92. And I go down and it loses me when I went on that first turn. And I come back around for some more. This one launches at me. I actually go in this direction because it's already going from this way. It's already going right, so I go to the left. And it loses me on the track. And then there's another one coming in at Mach 2, and I give it a little bit of time, and I go off to the left as well, popping chaff. It loses me as well. And there's another one coming at me. It's still going that way, and I just turn in the other opposite direction, and it loses me. Can't turn as much. It's only pulling 5 Gs. I was able to pull 4 Gs, but since I'm going toward it, creating that increased angle, I was unable to pull those Gs to hit me. Those two, and there's another one here. There's another one. Since it's coming at me, I don't want to really go away from it, so I just went down to get towards the terrain and to make it difficult for it to turn. So he's only pulling 5.9 Gs, and maximum in the vault said it's maximum of 6 Gs. So here I am on the deck again. Back on the deck, I reset, come back around at 15,000 or so, and kind of dodging it, going off this way, and then switch directions, going off to the left. It misses me off the right. Continuing over here, there's a missile launch. Beaming it now. It's right on my my 3 o'clock. Still tracking, so I dive down, and it goes off behind me, harmlessly. There's another launch. This is when I was getting away from it. This is about the time you want to get away from it, and it's not advised, but I mean, you obviously can, but to turn with it being behind you because you lose visual of it. But as long as you have visual of the missile, then you could do basically whatever you would like. In this case, I was able to keep visual for that through that turn, and then come back around for another shot, but it doesn't do anything for a little bit there. Then I reset, come back up here, and it does launch. Here's the launch. I'm flowing away from it. I'm trying to get away from it, and I do a different little tactic here. It's still following me, so it went off the side. Would not recommend this tactic because I was pretty close. Doing the same tactic, going around, making it turn and bleed off energy. Still trying to follow me. I'm able to bleed off its energy for the most part till the very end. It's going Mach 1.2, and I was able to get away from it that time. And then we'll move on to the SA6. And here we are in the SA6. Here I am at 26,000 feet. The SA6 is right here, and there's the first launch. Notice how fast the missile is going already after it was at about 6 seconds. So it's already going Mach 2 at about 6 seconds. And I go into that S maneuver downwards and kind of switch back and forth with using chaff. And I was able to trash this first one. The second one is a different story. What I should have done is going this way, being that this is behind me, and then switch off in the other direction, but it did get me. So it is a tactic to get away from at least one of them, and you are able to get away from at least two before you have to pull up because of the ground. And then we're going to go to the next engagement. About over here. I maneuver, I go off away, and it actually doesn't even start tracking. That was a quick reaction time. Probably confused it and it was unable to continue the track from my quick reaction time. So this one, on the other hand, it locked onto me pretty good, did some chaff, 2.4 on the speed, and I was able to get away from it just because it lost track when it was coming around that turn. Was able to get away from that one. It's at a lower altitude, so it is possible. And then I'm gonna move on over here. This engagement launches at me. I go down basically to the deck because of the terrain, and actually I was still able to get hit because I didn't do too many maneuvers. I could have did a lot more maneuvers, and if you remember the terrain, I wasn't directly below the terrain, so I could have gone below the terrain and terrain mass the SA6. But I would say, just in my opinion, I would have said to. It's hard to see the missile in this sense, but you should be able to see the missile from your left side. And I'm only pulling 5 Gs, so I could have pulled a little bit more Gs, but you can see the G that the missile pulling is almost 8 Gs. So, and it was going 2.3, almost 2.4 Mach, and it hit me right in the tailpipe. So terrain masking will always work when it comes to SAM sites, as long as you're directly behind the terrain and not barely missing it like the trees or something. Same thing happened on this. Did not maneuver as well. I'm only going 0.57 Mach, so I don't have the speed to actually maneuver. And then I come in for there's another missile coming at me, and I try to go over it, and it actually goes right underneath me. Slow this down. So I'm going a little bit faster, so 0.7 for the Mach. Pull up, do some chaff, and kind of roll over the top, and it misses me, and there's another one coming at me. Doesn't seem like it's tracking at the moment, but yeah, it sure is. So I try to go over the top again, and it actually goes right underneath me, but it still reacts as a hit. So you might have your HUD might have went out, some of your screens might have gone out, but your engine possibly might still be on because of the damage model in BMS. That's a possible live to be able to come back home. You wouldn't explode off the bat, but make sure your engine is good. In that case, if I was low enough to get behind the terrain, I should have just gone behind the terrain to make it a little easier on myself to not have to maneuver so much. So here's the SA11. Get the launch here. There's the SA11 coming up. Notice the speed that it goes. So it's 2.7 or so. I actually just bleed it going off, and you remember the smoke only lasts a few seconds. So once it goes up, it has smoke, and then it disappears for a majority of the track to your aircraft. And this one actually did get me because I was unable to see it. So I got hit by that one. I reset, going back over here, getting launched on it by it again. And the smoke actually disappears about here, just goes away. And here I jink back and forth like a S maneuver, that about as best as you could do without having to go down to the deck to get away from this this SA11. But it's just going way too fast, 1.48 Mach, and hits me right in the tailpipe. So I reset again, coming back, and there's a launch right there. Get the missile here. There's a launch. I try to go down to the deck to get do the terrain, but I still see it and it's following me like crazy. So I try to pull up, pulling 7 Gs or so. Try to pull up on it, and it's pulling 12 Gs, so has no problem pulling Gs, and it gets me on that one. Here's another one. Launches at about 14,000, maybe 13,000 feet. So I'm a little bit closer to the ground, and I try to see if I can slam it into the ground or terrain mask. And even at this altitude, I was able to do that because just the very last second, it actually went out of view. At that very last second, as you see right there, it goes away, and then it just kind of goes underneath me harmlessly, just because of terrain masking. So terrain masking seems like one of the best ways to get away from the SA11. So I did it again over here. It launches at me, and I do another break underneath the deck, and then I come up above the deck for a little bit, above the terrain, and it launches at me again here. I guess it didn't launch at me that time. So I get a little closer, about less than 5 miles or so. And there's the missile right here. And I turn into it, because that's about as best as I can do. There goes the missile, goes straight to 10 Gs. I'm pulling 9 Gs, and it hits me like it's no problem. And this is when it just kind of goes crazy on me and starts launching missiles. There's another one right there. How many Gs did it pull? 5 Gs, 7, 8, 9, about 9 Gs. So it pulled 9 Gs there, Mach 1.1, trying to get away from this thing. Still hits me. I'm pulling 5 Gs, 7 Gs at the maximum. Pulled it, wasn't able to get away from it. Going off beside it, turning away from it. Get away from this thing. And then I think that's about it, except for this last one. So this missile's coming at me. I try to ascend, and it still hits me. I don't have as much speed as I did, but I'm just trying to see what I could do to get away from this missile. But oh goodness, it even like kind of adjusts a little bit there when I'm moving around. It hits me right there. But in conclusion, make sure you know the sounds of your SAMs, and make sure you have terrain for these higher up SAMs, because that's just about the only way to get away from these things. To terrain mask and make sure you're low enough to be able to use the terrain as your cover. If you're up high, this depends on which one it is. You could always try to dive. The SA-11 is a little difficult to dive and turn away from it because the smoke actually disappears. But until next time, I will be talking about more of these SAMs, and more videos will definitely be coming out.